It's so nice to see so many people. Last time I was on this stage, it was like maybe like this little area. Half of you were drunk, quite asleep. Maybe it's the same thing today because you're hungry, your blood sugar is low. So I read somewhere to get people's attention is to say something that upsets them. So I start with something. Jar Jar Binks is probably the greatest character in Star Wars. Yeah. Right. Ending of Game of Thrones. Awesome. No spoilers, by the way, but yeah, it's great. User enumeration is information disclosure. Maybe some is angry or not, I don't know. Because penetration tester, as I am, or bug bounty hunters, we see these like everywhere. Any application you go to, you usually find user enumeration, right? But nobody cares. Like we just ignore it all the time. It's nothing, and I get it. Because I looked on Project Discovery, Chaos. They have like all the public bug bounty programs. So there's no private bug bounty programs, and I checked. How many programs have user enumeration in scope? Any guesses? Yeah, 0. It was like 0 user enumeration in scope. And I get this. I mean, I have friends whose bug bounty triagers, it's difficult to get rid of. And if we would have it in scope, then we would get flooded. We're already flooded in bug bounty programs, right? But this is something that we usually see. Well, because we say to our developers that say something generic, like incorrect email or password when the user exists or doesn't exist. Well, but then you go to the sign-up flow, and you get that, well, sorry, that email address is already associated with an account. So in this case, we're doing a quite bad like user experience, right? And user experience, that's the thing that design teams talk about all the time, because it's important, right? And they say stuff like, by the way, do we have any designers in the audience? That's good, because this is their fault. But they say stuff like users need immediate feedback, friction reduces conversion, and user experience is paramount. Like we want good user experience, so that it always boils down to money. Because if we have angry users, we don't make any money. So we go back to our the leadership, and we say something security, and they say, nope, design team wins, so we get these nice interfaces, and our users are happy. So we started making money. But we're still in this situation where nobody cares about user enumeration, it feels like, right? And you can be sad about it as security people because you want to fix shit. But you can also say, well, if nobody cares, maybe we can do stuff with it, right? I care about user enumeration. That's why I'm here to talk. So who am I? My name is Anton Linné. I usually go by the alias of Saftsoppa. And if you're not from Sweden and you're visiting right now, try it out. It's really good. You can buy it everywhere. I'm an independent penetration tester. And I'm also sometimes a security researcher. I focus a lot on application security and cloud stuff. Lately, I'm doing Kubernetes because it's awesome, right? But I also like data. It's my jam. I've been collecting data for as long as I can remember, so data is my thing. And why is that? Well, because you need a lot of data to do good intelligence work, right? When you do investigations. And that was the case with Unabomber. I was not a part of that team, just to be clear. But they had a lot of text from this guy because they couldn't find him. They didn't know who that guy was. So they took a bunch of his letters and they did a profile on him. That's something called auto-profiling. And It's also, you can also call it like forensic linguistics or linguistic analysis or something like that. So you just analyze how the person writes, and then you get a profile from the person. Jessica Smith had a really nice talk about hunting child predators a couple of years ago on DEF CON. I suggest you look it up because it's really good if you're interested in this area. But sometimes you don't have so much data. Like for an investigation, you probably just have something like this. Like, here's an email, find shit. And you look in data breaches, and you can't find anything. It's just a ghost on the internet, right? So what do? Yeah, this talk about use enumeration, so you do user enumeration, right? But what is user enumeration? We might have some people that aren't penetration testers or bug bounty hunters that doesn't know what it is. So just a single quote here. It's a process of determining whether specific user identifiers exist within a system. So with easy words, then we just know if the user exists or not. And the stuff you usually enumerate for is emails, you have usernames, phone numbers, personal identity numbers, or personnummer in Sweden. I'm going to focus on emails because most of us have one, and it's an identifier for a person, even though you can have domain history and stuff like that. It's usually the same over time. I also categorize user enumeration vulnerabilities as two different things. You have something called basic checkers, and then you have something called enrichment or padded data. Basic checkers are the stuff we usually see. It's just a basic check to see if the user exists in a system, nothing else. And we have the AWS root account over here. I'm pretty sure the design team is happy about this, the security team. I don't know, maybe not. And this just confirms that the user exists in a system, right? And we can do some targeted attacks. We'll talk about that more later. But you don't get any additional data, nothing else. Just check that it exists. Then we have the enrichment or the padded data. And this is the stuff that I like the most. Because if you send in an email and you get back information, you get more information about this user than you knew before. And this is like everywhere. Like you usually have this in when you try to add friends and stuff, invite people, it just brings up the profile of that person. And that gives us a better possibility to also do detailed targeted attacks because we know more about the target than we did before. We can also start doing some OSINT profile building about this person. Okay, so what is a targeted attack? I think most of us think about this, password spraying. Yeah, we just log into the people's account and get more information. Hey, that's good. You can't do that in bug bounty programs, by the way, but for red teaming, this is awesome. And we probably have like SOC team guys right now, but you say, what? Don't do this. Don't spam our logs. But this is good. Hear me out. I did a little calculation. Let's say if you would have only emails that have previous leaked passwords, and you do permutations of those passwords. Let's say we have a success rate of 12% per email. And if we don't know that the user exists, the first one is if we know the user exists, just to be clear. But if we don't know that the user exists, we're spamming with requests because we don't even know that the user exists, right? So I'm just saying, if we could go from 34,000 requests to just get one account in the service to come down to 142, that's awesome. Our SOC teams are happy because they don't know what's happening, right? No, just kidding. We can also do social engineering, which is something I like to do when you're doing phishing attempts or whatever you do. And if you have like the first name, you have, for example, a space for a, I don't know, Slack or something like that, maybe you can send something like this to the CTO or the developers or someone who's in charge, because you know more information. We train our users all the time to say, like, well, if the email looks fishy, if it has like a weird, like, hi, happy frog 123, it's probably phishing, right? But this actually gives us something that we can use, because we know they exist in a service. So we can just pretend to be that service or be some kind guy. This works actually quite often. OSINT profiling. This is nice. Okay. So I'm not sure if you know this service. Yeah, Vivino, for those who don't know, it's an application just to see how people rate wine. You can store the wines, you can rate them yourself, you can get suggestions what you might like. I use it, so when I go to Systembolaget, which is the place you buy wine, you scan all the wines in the store, and then they tells you which you should like. Not because I'm super fan of wine, but just because other people like it, right? That's how we do it. We want to have affirmation from other people. And I have this friend, Peter. He loves expensive and good wine, at least according to Vivino, right? So the most expensive, the most nice wine, like this is a rare wine from, I don't know, 1917, I don't know, like some old shit. I'm not good at wine, so yeah. But the thing is, Vivino has a pretty nice thing. They have a user enumeration vulnerability that translates an email to an ID. That's good. We have an ID. But they also have like an open API for the web. You don't even need any authentication. You just need any user agent. That's why I used to put a queue. So the user agent queue. That's needed for this request. So I did this with Peter's stuff, and I got back a lot of juicy data, like all the wine he likes. And I was thinking, like, what does Peter like? Maybe Peter likes expensive wine. That's the stuff he's ready, because every time we buy those expensive wine bottles, I go broke. So I was shocked when I found out Peter likes this wine. Why the heck have we been? Why the heck have we been buying expensive wine like Dom Perignon? We could have had this all the time. So I know a lot of Peter now. That's good. Next time we're buying cheap wine. But when you talk about like the padded data stuff, you don't do this like one service at a time. You automate stuff, right? That's how we get real intelligence. We don't have time to do this manually. And you get stuff like this. When you do like 200 services, you get a bunch of data. So you go from this like single email where we didn't know anything about the target. We just had like a Hotmail or something like that. And right now, we're getting a lot of information. We even know the wine history of that guy. Maybe he loves good wine, eh? That's a target. But if we don't get like the padded data, the enrichment data, can we use the other stuff? Is it still worth something? And it is. The stuff that I query for most is geographical data. We have local sites. I mean, stuff that's only available in Sweden or a specific place in Sweden or in Europe or in the US. So this is great. Like if you do user enumeration for those kind of services, we can have an understanding of where this user exists in the world. That's great. We can do for GitHub, Bitbucket, like all the developer tools to get an understanding this person is maybe a developer or something with code, maybe vibe coding, I don't know. Personal behavior. We can do like Tinder, Grindr. To see what kind of stuff they like. LastPass and a lot of password manager, they also have like this user enumeration vulnerability. So we can get a hint of does this person care about security. Demographics. Sometimes you have sites that are specific for certain ages. Like you can have like a school platform or something like that. Maybe that gives something. Secret life, as I said, like Grindr or some adult sites. Maybe some of the stuff aren't things you want to show to the world, but it's still there. So where do we find these user enumeration vulnerabilities that is everywhere, right? I have some favorite tricks. And one of my favorites is actually AWS Cognito. And AWS Cognito is basically like authentication out of the box. Like you buy it, you don't want to implement it, or you don't want to build it yourself, so you just buy this service that is super expensive. And if we send something like test that maybe exists or not, we get incorrect username and password. Great. The design team is happy, security team is not happy. But then we do a user that doesn't exist, and you get user does not exist. Dang, boo. Design team, come on. Now we're having one brown shoe and one black shoe. Nobody's happy. Some of you might say, well, AWS actually added something called prevent user existence errors. And that sounds awesome. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. Like, you can prevent this. So you do the same request again, and you get incorrect username and password, and then you send not real. And you get the same message. Whew, happy. God damn it, we did the sign up, and then we got the error message again. Damn it, AWS, back to the drawing board, do your stuff. Google Firebase, they had the same stuff. They actually switched this, so from September 2023. It's enabled by default, but the older applications doesn't have this enabled, so you have to manually go in and do that. But you can still disable it. Remember, we still have that fight between security teams and design teams, right? And design always win. Login forms, they're also really good. This is an example from Netflix. And while I was actually doing this, I found out that they're not validating the reCAPTCHA response token. So I haven't reported it, so they should probably look into this, or someone should probably report it. I'm not sure if Anna's here and will kill me. Forgot passwords. They're also really good. This is Apple. You send in an email, and you get the 2 last digits of a phone number back. Yeah, that's great. Same with PayPal. But in this case, you get actually more. You get the country code as well, and then you get the 2 last digits. And this is something you can chain for like multiple services. A couple of years ago on DEF CON, Martin Vigo had a talk about this, how he translates an email address to parts of phone numbers and do it over like a lot of services. Then you get back like the full phone number. It's insane. I'm not sure if this project is still alive, but the technique is still there. That's something you can build yourself if it's not working. Legacy APIs. Hell yeah. So the design team come to, or the opposite. Security team comes to the developers and they say, we want to get rid of this. We want to take care of this. So, and the developers say, well, we can't do that because then it breaks all our shit. So we add V2. Everything is great. So, and this, I found this in the source code from their apps. I was like, okay, I don't get back anything. The call is there, but it's just not returning anything. But then we do the version 1, and we get back all the juicy information. Now we know that guy's name and the ID. I mean, it's not really worth it, but the name, that's good. JavaScript again, hell yeah. That's also a really, really nice thing you can use to find this stuff. Sometimes you use disable stuff in production, but it's still there, right? So that's something you can use. Mobile app APIs, they are the best because sometimes you have like server-side rendered webs, and they put in all the security stuff there. The web development team is great, but then you have API, and APIs are great because you get JSON. You don't even have to parse like HTML. Subdomain enumeration, just to find like forgotten internal APIs. I found this. It was pretty cool. I was just interested in one thing, and it was just like this. But that's stuff you can look for as well. Gravatar hashes. Sometimes you don't even allow your users to opt out from that. And Gravatar hashes are great because if you return it for every profile, you can just crack it, right? It's just MD5 hash of the email. So if you get that for every profile, just take them out and crack it. Then you know all the users in the system. And if you have this with a really bad password policy, great, then you can just log in. Newsletter lists, the same. It's often just email hashes. This is MD5 again. Account setting stuff, if you log in, then you also can check stuff that aren't available for the public, but then you log in and then you want to change your email address, and then you have that API, so you just need a bearer token to request it. OAuth, also, they have like this deprecated ground type password, which you can use, even though they are not telling you to use it. Maybe it's still live. It often is. But then you might ask, like, where do you get the emails to enumerate? We want to enumerate to get email enumeration. And I read the OpenID Connect specification. I've just found out, like, they have like a user enumeration as a service built in the RFC. It's called WebFinger. It's just send it to Okta, and then you get back if the user exists or not. That's great, because then you can just brute force the logins for a whole company. Old school stuff, SMTP verify, works, great. So yeah, we're doing, this is like in Inception. We're doing user enumeration to get user enumeration, right? NixGeek has done a lot of research on this. I think I saw him here earlier. Is he here? Oh. But he's really good. Check out his stuff. He found this like over and over in Microsoft products. So that's something you can use. You have the same stuff for Slack as well and stuff. All right, so automation, tips and tricks. How do you build this into a scale? Like you don't want to do this manually, as we said. We want to automate this. So, number one, don't use headless browsers. And the reason for that is because sometimes you have teams that works really hard to get rid of these user enumeration vulnerabilities. And when you're doing headless browsers from experience, things tend to change more frequently than if you just do the raw HTTP request. Best if you do it against an API. So try to stay away from headless browsing. Understand what really needs to go into the request. Quite often you get like all this marketing cookies and stuff like that from the previous talk, or headers and stuff like that for the marketing team. Really understand what is the tiniest request you can make for this to still work, because then you understand how the application works. So you don't send in like some extra headers that make them fingerprint you and ban you. Use a lot of proxies, and good proxies, because you will get your IP banned. And my wife is not super happy when I ban her IP from Netflix. Because then she can't watch Virgin River. And don't trust all data you get. We're humans, we lie, and we enter stuff that isn't real. So don't trust everything. You need to have like multiple data back that confirms the same thing. Okay, well, I promised attacks, right? More for Bug Bounty. And I actually have one really good method for this. And it's expired domains. It works really well. Because sometimes you have like these partner pages, because you're enumerated like the whole, all the domains. For subdomains, you know all the system. And you have like this one partner page that you can't log into. And you want to log in, because that's where the user stuff usually are, right? This one as well. And here's something you can do, like the two different types. And I like the first one the most, opportunistic hunting. You scrape the expired domains all the time. This is public, right? And then you check for previously leaked emails for those domains, see if we have some history for it. And you also user enumerator for the different services. And anytime you get a hit, you just buy that domain, and you reset the password, and you're in. Great. That's awesome. We have the other part where this is something I like to do. I just do a lot of reverse DNS, so we understand like what else, what cool parts do we have that they haven't registered. Like maybe forgotten domains. They bought a startup or bought 200 startups and forgot about the domains because it's not in use anymore. That's the same. Use user enumerate those. See if we can find some history. And if we do get a check, well, then we just buy it. We do a catch-all for everything and do a reset password. Done. Sorry. OK, now we're going into the sub part. Why does it matter? Because up till now, we just had fun, right? We're happy. Getting lunch in 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. 2.5. Per Torsheim had a talk like a couple of years ago. This is like 10 years ago, but we had a breach in Ashley Madison. And this was really sad, because there were a lot of blackmailing because you were having an affair. It was supposed to be secret. But when that got breached and all the details were leaked, there was a lot of people who got exposed. And sadly, a lot of them took their own life. And the thing is with user enumeration, you don't even have to breach the company because the details are out there. So we have this site that actually the people rely on for their personal, private lives or something like that, stuff you don't want to be exposed. And that's why I want to talk about like how can we protect ourselves from this. And the first thing, treat your email as a password, like a public password, something like that. I don't know. And use unique email addresses for every service. I know Apple has this built in. Fast Mail and 1Password has some kind of stuff that create this for you. So you have unique domains or some of their domains, and you have a unique local part for the email. So you can't really user enumerate you. But for companies, include user enumeration in your threat model. Because if you know what you want to do, if you say, well, we have to protect our user for all cost, then the design team, they lose. Then we have something for security team. So don't mix the stuff. But if you say, well, we don't care about this, then that's fine. But at least have it in your threat modeling so you know that. Yeah, and with like 30 seconds to go, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anton.